Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. What you're watching out there at the moment, my box set list is beginning to look dangerously low, so if there's any recommendations about anything at all, send them over to me. But it is no secret, of course, that streaming services are going to continue to have a significant impact on the future of media. Where would we all be without them? And the past 12 months has proven that video as a business tool is a must-have, and the global safer-at-home orders have sped its growth. And the power of video is growing exponentially and putting traditional media in the catch-up phase. But I'm curious, what is next for the category as we are here in the unknowns of 2021? Because this time last year, I was attending the Dynatrace Perform event over in Vegas. Remember those days attending a tech conference in another part of the world? But this year, the event, like so many others, has gone virtual. But the team are working incredibly hard to bring that event to life through a mixture of video and real-world products. For example, they've invited me to a virtual wine tasting reception to kick off the event. And it will start with introductions and people tasting wine, but you're actually doing it virtually. So essentially, they sent me a box of goodies and we're all going to try as best as we can to recreate that live experience. Now, according to Brightcove, who are the global leader in video for business, video media usage has been up 40% year over year for the majority of 2020 and establishing the future for all organisations from entertainment to sports to retail, enterprise, media, publishing and so much more. Video is at the heart of it all. So when Brightcove recently released its Global Video Index Year in Review report, which showcases video data throughout 2020, I wanted to learn more about what that means for video in 2021. So I've invited Brightcove CEO Jeff Ray onto the podcast to discuss the evolving trends of video as a necessary medium for storytelling and how businesses need to utilise it in 2021, especially if they want to remain competitive and profitable. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Florida so we can speak with Jeff right now. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Jeff. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Hi, Neil. Thanks. It's good to meet you and chat with your listeners too. I'm CEO of Brightcove. Brightcove is first and foremost and has always been a video company with the goal of making it easy to communicate and connect over the web with video.
And since 2004, I believe, Brightcove has been helping customers discover and experience the incredible power of video through your award-winning technology. And that's one of the reasons I invited you on today, because video is a big thing today, but you've been empowering organisations in more than 70 different countries across the globe to touch audiences in bold and new innovative ways. So for people hearing about you for the very first time, I'm going to ask you to maybe set the scene and tell me a little bit more about the kind of problems that you're solving with technology and, of course, what makes you different from all those other video solutions out there.
Great. Yeah, there are lots of solutions, and certainly the pandemic has accelerated that. And if people aren't already video companies, they're trying to figure out how to work video into their name or their message. And we'll certainly cover that in a few minutes. But this was formed from the beginning to be video and video over the web, and it's broadcast quality also, and that's kind of our unique position. I often tell people that no one gets it right at the very beginning with video. There's always some triggering event that compels you. You're a sports league, and you've got to start showing highlights, or you're a marketer and you've got to somehow get some video out for the fall clothing line. Something triggers a reason to use video, and it tends to be more event driven rather than strategic. And so then people they literally go on this journey of, for lack of a better term, of enlightenment, and they get better and smarter. They trip a few times, they stub their toes, they learn, they get better. And we're kind of at that point where you get it that video is core to what you do, and you want to deliver an exceptional experience for viewers. When you get to that point in enlightenment, that's kind of where we are. That's the unique position that we play.
And before we started recording today, you were congratulating me on my story, etc. And there is always a story behind each and every one of us and the companies that they lead as well. So I've got to ask, can you share the story behind Brightcove and how you saw an opportunity to seize on this evolutionary moment in time, all through video?
Of course. Yeah, again, the founding team 15 years ago, they were the ones who were the visionaries. And they said, look, video will be the preeminent way that people will communicate over the web. And in those days, it was 15 frame per second, 3-4 second snippets, ultra low definition, very, very hazy, bad sound quality that people were shooting with dumb phones or just had something they wanted to load. But the team realized, the founders, that this was going to be the way that people communicate. It's just natural. This is just the next step in humans' evolutionary scale of networking and being connected. We did it with the printing press, we did it with radio, we did it with television. When we laid out train tracks across our countries, that was a form of networking and connection. This is just the very natural next step that is being taken. And again, Brightcove from the beginning wanted to be the leader and deliver the most exceptional experience. And so as a result, the early Brightcove customers were all the major big media companies who were trying to figure out how to get their message out, but demanded that it be broadcast quality. They didn't want to deliver an inferior experience simply because it was over the web. So from the architects, the DNA, everything in our company is built on delivering that broadcast quality experience, and it's been a great fun. It's been very exciting. We've enjoyed many of our early customers continuing to grow and develop. I think about Dunkin's, which uses the technology very well for internal communication strategies. Wendy's uses it for literally tens of thousands of their franchisee employees, for especially these days for food safety. USGA has been with us for many years for the US Open, and you can watch the US Open on any device that you want at the same time as you're doing other things. Just so many great examples of how people have figured out how to do amazing ways to connect with their constituents, all through the power of video.
And I think it's no secret that streaming services will have significantly impacted the future of media. In fact, that's a whole other podcast episode right there. But this year, the past year has proven that video as a business tool is a must-have. And we've seen so many changes in the past year. If we were to go back 12, 18 months ago, I think video conferencing tools were a little bit awkward and people weren't that keen on using them. And now, of course, even our grandparents are using them on a daily basis to keep in touch with family. But can you tell me more about how the global safe-at-home orders have actually sped its growth further, especially with the power of video growing exponentially and putting traditional media almost in the catch-up phase?
Well, Neil, what's happening now with video, we see it as evolutionary. That's the word we use, not revolutionary. Video has been here. The pandemic and the work-at-home orders have compelled people, have really forced a crisis on people to figure out how to do business, to connect, to maintain commerce, to establish and maintain those relationships with stakeholders. And this is the easiest way to do it. So we just see a compression of adoption. The adoption was going to happen anyway. This is all being compressed, and the statistics really bear that out. 76% of CEOs said their companies will go virtual beyond 2020. So we saw live events take off. Everybody canceled their typical event of people getting on airplanes and going to the convention center or hotels for a 3-day event and then flying back home. Virtual events really took off. And what we found is that with a virtual event, you can go beyond 3 days in your relationships. You can put up really great video content that people can see beyond those 3 days. It's available to them. It's also convenient. They can view it on any kind of device. We can talk to well over 24 kinds of web devices. And it also provides a higher level of intimacy. They can look at the kind of content that they're interested in at the moment that they want to see it. And so the CEOs are saying that the future will be hybrid. There will come the day when everyone goes, when many people are willing to get on planes and go back to convention centers. But people are figuring this out. This is a really great way not only to reach more people, but to have literally a year-long relationship with their customers. We went through it ourselves, Neil. We had to cancel our live event back last spring. We went to a virtual event. We used our own technology, and we stood up a channel, and it's called Play TV, and there are hundreds and hundreds of hours of content of various things that are of interest to various kinds of users of video. And instead of reaching maybe 1,000 people over several days, it reaches tens of thousands of people as a result of that. So we very much see that, yes, right now, the work at home is forcing people to stay at home, but we also see significant dynamics that will change the way business is done as we come out of this. And we're just very, very encouraged by that.
And before you came on the podcast today, I saw on your website, there's a great video on there, but there's also a statement there that says, video done right opens hearts and changes minds. And I think that is so true. And the power that it can deliver through storytelling as well is incredible. So on that point, I'm curious, have you seen trends of video as a necessary medium for storytelling evolve over the last 12 months? Have you noticed any big changes?
We are in awe of how people figure out how to share their stories, communicate, engage, and inspire, even with their backs up against the wall with this pandemic, from very small charitable causes. I can think of one called Facing Disability. It's a very small team of people who reach out to a very unique segment of the world. It's those people who have suffered a spinal cord injury. And the challenge with that is it's instant. It isn't something that happens over time. And it does change someone's life for the rest of their life. And they have literally thousands of videos that help not only the victims, but the family members who are going to deal with this for the rest of their life, making it easy for them to reach out and relate to others who have gone through the same thing. I think about, from a business standpoint, Masterclass, great education platform with some of the top names in the world. If you want to learn how to play tennis with Serena Williams, if you want to learn film from some of the great directors, you can go to Masterclass. It's a virtual education platform and really learn from the best and the brightest. I could go on and on with just such really cool ways that people are reaching and connecting. We're from Boston. There's a great Irish punk band called Dropkick Murphys. Yeah. They, like all other performers, can't go out and perform anymore. Last summer in Boston, they did a live stream concert in Fenway Park, baseball park there. Fenway holds about 35,000 people. The city authorities would only allow 35 people in the stadium. 35 instead of 35,000. That included the 8 members of the Dropkick Murphys band. But with that tiny amount of resources, they live streamed the event. They raised over $700,000 for charity. They did a jam session live with Bruce Springsteen from his site, from his home in New Jersey, and over 9 million have viewed that since then. So instead of this being, debilitating and wow, our business is really going to suffer, people are getting very, very, very clever in how to do it. There's a very popular J-pop band that announced that they were going to retire, and Sony Pictures put up a live stream event of that concert, saw over 1 million viewers in November. It was so successful. They did it again at the end of the year, generating literally tens of millions of dollars for almost no cost at all. So we just continue to be stunned and in awe of how people come up with very resourceful ways to use video to stay connected.
Oh, incredibly cool stories. I had to stop myself from singing "I'm Shipping Up to Boston" there, but there's
there you
story.
go. Hey, you're a cool dude, Neil. I like that.
But for any business leaders listening or decision makers, and maybe we've lit a spark in them at the moment, how can businesses utilize this in 2021 to remain competitive and profitable? Because I think everyone's starting to explore different ways now, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. They can learn from everyone else, and they don't have to be the first to do it anymore. The experience is there. The professionals are there. The business models are sound. It's easy to justify it if you're a business person trying to figure out how to cost justify it. 76% of event planners have told us that they are permanently switching to virtual events. So the math is there to justify it. 80% of the businesses now use video as a marketing tool. Marketers say that when they use video, sales go up 49% versus not using video. So there's great business cases to help them with it. And then there's just great stories of success. There's a big event that's done here in the States called South by Southwest. You may have heard of it. Yeah. It's been around for over 30 years. Every year in the late winter, over 280,000 people descend on Austin, Texas for a week-long event for video, music, thought leaders. It's an incredible experience. And it gets picked up by the global media because it does bring in some of the real luminaries in the entertainment and arts industry. Of course, they've had to go virtual. They'll be doing it this year with us. What is cool about this, and this is a great example of the business model, is they're standing up their own channel. They're building their own Netflix, if you will, their own Hulu, their own Disney Plus on our technology. We're helping them create it. And so, in the old days before this year, if you went to South by Southwest, you had to buy a ticket, you had to fly, you had to find a hotel. Everything's very expensive there. And you could only see the events that you could actually sit there and enjoy. Now, because they're standing up this Netflix-like experience, you can see anything that you want, anytime you want, at your convenience on any kind of device, just like the way people use Netflix or Hulu. So it's a great example of a business model that works for someone who never had to put a business case together for something like this. And of course, they're not going to be reaching 280,000 people. They'll be reaching millions of people.
And along with those examples, I think you've also worked with partners across categories, including major events like the Tribeca Film Festival and even Willie Nelson's A Night in Austin's COVID-19 aid benefit, which I saw earlier, as well as organisations like Cvent, DocuSign and ServiceNow, all to help them pivot to video during the pandemic and remain connected and engaged with audiences. But I'm curious, are you able to share any other use cases that will just enable businesses to bounce ideas around and understand how they could leverage this same technology too?
Yeah, if you think about it in terms of use cases for a business person, there are three cases that come to mind. Number one, you're selling content, like a video streaming service. Number two, you're selling an idea. You're trying to get your message out there or find a community of like-minded people. And number three, you're selling a product. You have something to offer that where video will ultimately lead to some kind of a transaction. And so content is really, really critical, really, for all of those. And so media customers, it's all about content. And our what's kind of unique about us is because we were built with video from the very beginning, and in early stages, we're only serving global media companies. The Brightcove player is built on a very strong platform. And as you know, if you have a strong platform in tech, you're going to win. Use Uber because it's a great gig platform. eBay makes it as a great auctioning platform. And with that, you can be very, very flexible, responsive, but you also provide a high level of security and safety. So, for them, for companies that are still selling content, it's a great way to do it. And again, a great example of that, as I said, was South by Southwest, where they're going to put content out there. They will effectively be a media company. Enterprise customers, it's all about live, replacing live events with virtual events. But it's not just for customers. A lot of our users do it inside the business. They use it to connect with employees, with franchises, with members of the supply chain. And it is the best way to communicate and connect. And then, of course, you get into business, and there are just countless great examples. I think of General Motors, which the summer of 19, they live streamed the launch of the Corvette C8, their first mid-engine car, live streamed to hundreds of thousands of viewers around the world, and they sold out the entire first year's production numbers in a matter of days. That was so successful, they did again with the Cadillac Lyriq this year, which is their first all-electric Cadillac SUV. Again, sold out the first year in a matter of days. And then most recently, the Hummer, the all-electric Hummer, which again, through live streaming, sold out in days. So for business, it's great. We touched on the arts and how important it is. The Met had to cancel one of their preeminent fundraising events because of COVID, the Metropolitan Opera. They captured all of their artists, musicians, and singers using Zoom. And then with Brightcove, we pushed that out to hundreds of thousands of viewers who were able to donate money to the Met to keep the Met going. And the same thing's been done by the Australian Chamber Orchestra, the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra, San Francisco Opera, Sydney Opera House, Chamber Music Society of Lincoln Center, the Sydney Symphony Orchestra. I could go on and on with that. You noted the Tribeca Film Festival. Ended up with over 80,000 video minutes. Just amazing way to reach so many people that really matter. And again, for companies, a great way to reach. VMworld had over 80,000 attendees from 180 countries, watching over 1,000 speakers, all done with the power of video and all flawless.
Fantastic. And I also believe that Brightcove recently released its Global Video Index Year in Review report, which sounds quite intriguing. So can you share any key insights from that report?
Sure, Neil. And it's available to anyone out there. You can go to our website and click on the link for the Global Video Index Year in Review. And we also publish updates every quarterly, so you can get things more relevant. So, we certainly have some great use cases, as I've shared with you, but we also have a lot of hard data, which I think can help business people and constituents trying to figure out whether or not video makes sense. Video usage was up 40% year over year for 2020, 40%. What's really interesting is the rise of the smartphone as a communication device. Video is not just streaming over the top to smart television. Smartphone views of enterprise business content went up 660%. And the time spent within a video went up over 1,400%. So people are not just looking at it for 15 or 20 seconds. They're literally sitting there and watching 20, 30 minutes, 60 minutes. They're watching full-length movies. So that really removes a barrier for companies trying to figure out how to reach more viewers. And of course, entertainment content, even though entertainers cannot entertain live in venues, the entertainment content jumped by as much as 70%. So really great news as, again, people got very resourceful in figuring out how to connect with one another.
And I think, like we said earlier, it's no secret that streaming services will have a significant impact on the future of media. Now we're at the beginning of a new year, but also somewhat unfamiliar territory. So I've got to ask, what's next for the category as we head into the unknowns of 2021? Is there anything that's got your focus at the moment?
This is what makes video so much fun, is even though it's been around for 15 years and that there's now clear winners and losers, and you're not betting your business when you pick a video provider anymore. But that being said, we're still in the early stages. Algorithms are having a big impact, and I know algorithms kind of had a bad connotation right now with social, But for a video provider who wants to get live real-time feedback on which videos are getting real attention and attracting viewers, it's great for that. And so our algorithms really help our customers get smarter in figuring out what is most attractive to viewers, what keeps them watching, what has them come back for more, which ads really connect so that they can do a better job of monetization. All of that is possible through the use of algorithms and getting smarter. So that's something you can see right in your face. In terms of kind of where the future is going, of course, video will continue to expand, and it will be all industries. Every day we see exciting new users experimenting and finding the benefit of video. It also will be the predominant content type. It is well known now that the high percentage of traffic over the internet is video. In fact, 85% of the US internet audience watches videos online, and that will just continue to grow. Also, video is a platform, but it's also an API. It's not just video centric. Oh, I'm going to go watch this video. It's video to support other kinds of things, to make it easier for you to understand and do a deeper dive, to develop that intimacy. And then we're also finally going to see, I think, a convergence. Enterprises are becoming media companies. General Motors continues to stand up more and more content. Ford is standing up more and more content. In effect, they are becoming very, very powerful purveyors of media. Entertainers, as I said, things like the symphony orchestras are figuring out how to use media. And of course, media companies are expanding their business models. You see that front and center every day as more and more media companies take to the internet to connect and communicate. So those are some of the big things that we see, and we're thrilled because this is still at the infancy.
And I think so many businesses now are starting to try and think differently and work differently. And if we look at the event industry, for example, at the moment, a lot of people are switching to virtual events. But I think when the physical events open up, I think people will no longer see them as just an event inside a physical premises. It's almost like it's bust out of those four walls, and there will be people at the event and also people online too, which actually increases revenue opportunities too. I'm curious, do you see it like that too?
Of course I do. It's all about removing the barriers, eliminating the barriers of time, of distance, of viewing device, to really open yourself up and make yourself available to more and more. I mean, nothing will ultimately replace the experience of going to a live concert. But look at it this way, at least you won't have somebody spill a beer down your back.
Wow, I've loved chatting with you today. But before I do let you go, could I ask that you remind everyone listening of where they can find that report, find you online, and also contact your team if they've got any questions?
Thanks, Neil. Of course. Yeah, brightcove.com. And through that, you can tap into a whole lot of information. Like I said, the Play TV, which it's kind of turned into its own Grateful Dead site. People just love going there and sharing their views and experiences in it. And certainly you can connect with our sales team. We have a great global services team also that helps consulting and advice work. It's the easiest way to go, and we are indeed a global company.
If I'm ever allowed to fly again and find myself at a tech conference in Florida in the summertime, I'd love to meet you in person. We can have a cold beer, and hey, if it's that hot, because it does get pretty hot in Florida, you've got permission to pour that beer down my back. But more than anything, thanks for joining me on the podcast today.
That goes both ways, Neil. Thanks so much. It was really a delight chatting with you.
A huge thank you to Jeff for discussing the evolving trends of video as a necessary medium for storytelling and how businesses need to utilise it in 2021 to remain competitive and profitable, like I said at the beginning there. And so many great insights. And I love so many different use cases too. And I love how we mentioned South by Southwest too. That is, out of all the tech events in the world, that is the one that remains on my tech conference bucket list. So hopefully one year, when we're all back together, I'll be able to make that happen. But onwards and upwards. So please keep your messages coming in. Let me know what video means to you and your business, what tools you're using, what successes you've had, what failures you've had, what works. and what doesn't. All those things and much more. Share your insights, experiences, questions. If you want to come on the show, whatever it is, email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. My website is techblogwriter.co.uk, where you'll find links to 1,500 podcast episodes now through Tech Talks Daily, Switched On Thinking with Netgear, and of course Tech Fusion with Citrix. Other than that, I'll return bright and early tomorrow with another guest, so thanks for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.